Hi, I'm Brian Russell, and I want to speak with you today about navigating toward your preferred future. Now, when we talk about the future, we often make a mistake, and one of the common mistakes that we make is to associate with the future with one solitary point that we're aiming at somewhere way down the road. I want to give a more dynamic way of talking about the future. Now, of course, as a person of faith, as a Christian, my foundation for this is a deep trust that God has my best interests at heart, as well as the interests of those who I love the most, but also that God ultimately has a beautiful, abundant future of justice, love, mercy, grace, all those wonderful values and virtues that we think about when we think about what the future is going to be. Now, that's the ultimate future. And when I'm talking about the ultimate future, I want to suggest today that we're going to get to God's ultimate abundant future in a multitude of ways that really no one on earth is going to be able to figure out. So when I'm talking about trying to navigate towards our preferred future, I'm still talking this side of God's ultimate future abundance. But this is important because what we want to recognize is that God has the ultimate future secure, but there's essentially endless potential futures that are down the road. And I want to give a diagram that's going to have, or present a diagram that's going to have three focal points that can help to understand what I'm talking about. First of all, we start in the present, in the now. So wherever you are, recognize that this is our present moment. This is the present. And if things don't change, so if we just have the status quo, the present status quo, if things don't change at all, this is what futurists call the expected future. In other words, the expected future is if you take your life or your organization or your ministry or your church and you don't change anything and everything stays the same, this is where you would anticipate being. And a lot of our planning assumes that there's not going to be any change. But here's what futurists have found in their research. The expected future, that is the future that assumes that the status quo is going to continue, this is the least likely future that we're going to find ourselves in. You know all those sayings, what goes up must come down, and things go peaks and valleys, and if you ever watch the stock market, it's always changing. So there's going to be an expected future, but that expected future is the least likely option because the status quo never stays the status quo, does it? Now, there's also endless numbers of potential futures. And to chart out the potential future, or futures, and I'm going to write it that way with a plural now, potential futures. Potential futures are the events or challenges or opportunities that are unexpected, that drop into our lap. Some of these are easy to get at. So let's say September 11th. That was an unanticipated, catastrophic event that radically altered the beginning of the 21st century. We can have health issues that are unexpected, that change everything for us. We could have our family dynamics change. We could have a lost job. The stock market could crash. These are things that are ultimately out of our control that change everything. There's a whole book talking about some of these random things that happen. It's called The Black Swan. I encourage you to take a look at that and read that. So the potential futures are how the status quo is radically changed by events outside of our control that cause the whole world, including ourselves, to react. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't want to live my entire life simply reacting to things that are outside of my control. Again, life is going to bring challenges. There'll be events. There's earthquakes, tsunamis, tornadoes. There's unexpected deaths. There's illnesses. There's job losses. There's challenges within local congregations. Our businesses have competitors. I mean, Eastman Kodak, they were torpedoed by the digital camera industry. Blockbuster Video, Black Swan event in the sense of Netflix. They didn't see it coming and it changed everything. And so what we want to do here is you can't control these kind of events, but you want to be mindful in your life of challenges that may arise. And again, we can't account for everything because there are going to be black swan events that we have little control over. But a lot of time, if we're intentional, we can see potential challenges down the road, which leads us to where we want to go with this talk. Now, there's a third option for futures, and this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the preferred future. This is where essentially our ideal future would be. We have to decide where we would like to see things go and then do a couple of things that help us to move towards this, because this is the opposite. When we talk about the potential future, that's us reacting to things that are out of control. When we talk about the expected future, that's us going along for the ride, assuming nothing's ever going to change. And when we do that, we're set up to really fail and to be in deep trouble when one of these black swan events strikes us. So the only thing that we ultimately have control over is what? It's our own reactions. And if you've ever read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, what's one of the very first habits? It's be proactive. And so if we want to see ourselves and our lives get to our preferred future, we have to be proactive. And this is where it's vital for each one of us to think about, what are our goals? What do I really want? Who am I? What's my identity? In a previous video, I talked about mission, community, and character, and asking ourselves, who is my mission? Who is my community? And what kind of person do I need to become? We want to think about these things. We have to own who we are and what we actually want out of life. And when we do that, we can begin then to take action. So we're not just stuck in the status quo, but we take action. We set goals and take action that begins to move the future towards where we want it to go. And even if we are going to experience from time to time major disruptions, a 9/11, a war, an illness, by having goals, by taking action, we have a plan already set up so we don't simply have to react. We're already being proactive, trying to shape and move things forward. And so this allows us then, when we set our own goals, when we own who we are, what we really want, and begin to move towards those things, when a black swan event happens, when something comes that's going to alter it, again, it's not going to be a straight line down to here, but we don't simply have to drop into somebody else's future, because we already have plans, and often we'll have contingency plans, and we can face the future with optimism and know, again, God's future is out here ultimately. And I like to say the future is going to be even better than we think. But to get into God's future, we have to take action, set plans that begin to move things towards a preferred future that aligns with our own values first, and not simply be trapped in the ebbs and flows of historical causes. Again, I hope this helps a little bit. Again, the key takeaway here is, if nothing changes, this would be our expected future, but life is about constant and perpetual change. So what we have to do is we have to just make a decision. If we do nothing, we're setting ourselves for our immediate future. Our potential future is going to be set by someone else. So take a few minutes after you watch this video, if you haven't already, sit down and begin to ponder, who is my mission? Who is my community that's going to be with me in this mission? And what kind of person do I need to become? How do I need to grow? Craft that and set some goals, and then make a list of some action steps that you can begin right now to be able to move yourself to the place where you want to be in a month, in 6 months, in a year, 5 years, 10 years. And when you do that kind of stuff, magic really starts happening, and you can enjoy every single moment that God gives us to enjoy. I'm Brian Russell. I'm your professor for life. Thanks for watching.